Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're looking at two cameras, both from the same manufacturer, both with very similar features, but many other YouTubers are comparing these two cameras, and I think quite justifiably as well. What we're looking at is the Sony ZV-1, which came out, I think it was last year. I bought it as soon as it came out. Fantastic little compact camera, and we're comparing that against the brand new Sony ZV-E10, which is this camera. And it's actually also a very compact camera, a nice camera to handle, and their price point is quite similar. There's about £100 difference between the two. So you can get the ZV-E10 with its kit lens for about £799. I think it's about say 800 quid here in the UK with its 16 to 50 power zoom kit lens. That's what I've got fitted to it here. But the ZV-1 has a built-in lens. You can't change the lens at all. It is fixed. I've actually got an adapter ring on the front of this one, so it looks a little bit wider, but it's effectively a 24 to 70 Zeiss lens built into it. It's very reminiscent of the RX100 range, from the RX101 right through to the 5 that have the 24 to 70 lens, and then the 6 and 7 has got, I think it's the 24 to what is it, 24 to 200, something like that, I'm not sure. But that's the ZV-1. And what I want to do, I just want to help potential buyers as to what do you choose, because if you're looking at them online, be it on Wex photographic park cameras, wherever you look, it might be difficult to choose which one you want. And I'm going to try and help. I'm either going to muddy the waters even more, or I'm going to help you make a buying decision, or at least you'll have a better decision as to what you want to do. Now we'll look at the new camera on the block, the ZV-E10 first of all. Very similar in design, and in fact if you look at the top you can see the similarities, so many similarities, deliberately so as well, and actually some of the accessories will work with both cameras, and that's really handy. So you can see the top plates kind of similar. They've both got big red record button on the top. They've both got the same 3 capsule microphone, so microphone with 3 capsules on the top here, which is great. The ZV-E1 has exactly the same on the top there, and they come with one of these little furry muffs that fit into the hot shoe, both the ZV-1 and the ZV-E10, and that helps protect the wind from hitting the microphone. And the built-in microphones in both the ZV-E10 and the ZV-1 is very good indeed. Now, the ZV-1 has the fixed Zeiss 24 to 70 lens, so you can't change that. It is what it is. You can add a wide-angle lens adapter. It's not a Sony adapter, but it does do the job. It's not the best, but it's okay. And that's what this ring is added on here for, to enable that. But the great thing with the ZV-E10, it's got the 24 megapixel APS-C sensor that you'll find in the A6600, 6500, 6400, all the Sony APS-C cameras. So it's a renowned sensor. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's an old sensor. Well, it is an old sensor, but it still is really good, apart from rolling shutter. You do have to be careful if you're panning, particularly with video. If you're panning, you'll get the wonky lines. You'll get that with stills as well, but it's more pronounced with video. But the great thing is, with a ZV-E10, you can change the lenses. So you can take this lens off, which I would recommend in a lot of cases, and get better quality lenses. And there inside you can see the APS-C sensor, 24 megapixel sensor inside there, and you can change these lenses. So that's a big design point with the ZV-E10, and that's one of the reasons I purchased it, was the flexibility of being able to put other lenses on. You can even put the full frame lenses on here. You have to take into account the crop factor, because APS-C has got a 1.5 times crop factor. But even if you take that into account, you can still put your full frame lenses on here. And if you've got other Sony bodies, it kind of makes sense to go with the ZV-E10. But as far as functionality is concerned, they're both extremely similar. The ZV-1 has the 1-inch sensor. Now, image quality off a 1-inch sensor is fine. It's actually really good. But your stills is going to be better from the ZV-E10 than what they are from the ZV-1. But video quality, they're both going to be very similar. Now, they've both got your product showcase mode. That's a useful feature. I use that quite often. What that is, it's actually a pre-assigned button. It's on the back here, so you can actually set that to product showcase mode, push that in, and it turns it on. Basically, it turns off the face detect. So anything you put on in front of a lens, you bring up to the lens, great for content creators or YouTubers if they're demonstrating products. It actually shows, it focuses on that product straight away. You don't have to block your face. It will focus on the product, but as soon as you remove it from in front of a camera, it focuses back on your face. And it's basically a push of a button. If you look here, push that button in, and it turns on product showcase mode. You can actually set it in the function. If you want to pre-assign that function button, you can put it in the function menu as well. I haven't done that, but you can do that. And the menus are very, very similar, if not identical, in both cameras. They've both got animal eye AF and face eye AF. They've both got all the features you're going to find. You know, they've both got electronic image stabilization. There really isn't a lot of difference between the two of them. So if you're looking at a really good compact camera, both of them are going to fit the bill. But the stills are going to be better with the ZV-E10 because you can change the lenses and it's got that bigger sensor. So if you're looking at, for example, you can buy a lens, an f1.4 lens, such as the Sigma lenses, and they're brilliant lenses. You can get down to f1.4, which is marvelous. So you can really create that separation between the subject and the background. In fact, there is a mode, I've reassigned this function button, but it does come out of the factory, sets that to the widest aperture. So you can very quickly, at the click of a button, set that to f1.8 if you're using an f1.8 lens, or f2.8 if it's an f2.8 lens, to be able to get that subject separation. And that's a great, great little feature. Now, the ZV-1 also has that same feature. So again, it's this button on the top here, which is pre-assigned for being able to do that. So if you really, really want to very quickly, you know, get the background out of focus, push that button and the background will go out of focus as best it can with a 1-inch sensor. You have to bear in mind the ZV-1 has a 1-inch sensor. So being able to get that lovely depth is not going to be the same on the ZV-1 as it is on the ZV-E10. They both got the same 3-inch articulating screen, which is brilliant. And as I said, the lens on the ZV-1 is built in, so it just comes straight out the minute you open the screen. So the ZV-1 has got the 3-inch articulating screen. That's great. And it's also got the red tally light for when you're doing your vlogging. And that's awesome. So you can actually clearly see that the camera is recording. There's nothing more frustrating than doing a shoot and then find that you forgot to hit the record on the, you know, on the camera. So that in itself is a fantastic feature of the ZV-1. And again, the ZV-E10 has got a very similar sort of feature. It's got your 3-inch articulating screen. Again, exactly the same as the ZV-1, not E1, but ZV-1. So that's got your 3-inch articulating screen, just pops out. But when you're in video mode and you hit the record button, instead of you getting a tally light, actually no, it has got the tally light, it comes on. So you've got a red tally light. Where is that showing? Can we see that? Yeah, you can just see that the red tally light is on there. But in addition, you've got a red border around the screen, so you can clearly see that you are recording. So, you know, that is absolutely fantastic. And with the right lens, it's got a lever on the camera body here will adjust the zoom of the lens. So if you're using a power zoom lens, you can actually zoom in and out with the lens using the lever on the camera. And it's exactly the same as it is on the ZV-1. So you can begin to see the similarities between the two cameras. The ZV-E10 is slightly heavier and a bit bigger. I put the weights in the video somewhere so you can actually see that. But again, and the IAF, almost said animal, the IAF works great on both cameras. It's pretty much identical. So so that isn't really a big difference. They both only take one SD card, and they're both in the similar position in the camera. So they both go where the battery compartment is. So that's the battery for the ZV-E10. They've used the FW50 battery. It's okay. It's the same as the A6000, 6400, and I think it's a 6400. Loads of the old Sony cameras use the FW50 battery. It's okay. It lasts a reasonable length of time. I wouldn't write home about it, but it's, you know, it's not bad. And the SD card just slots in the side there with the battery. I don't like that, the way that works, but that's what it is. It is what it is, you know. I would have preferred a design which they've done with the A7C, where the SD card slots into the side of the camera, but they haven't. So again, with the ZV-1, it's one SD card slot, and they've put it again in with a battery which slots in there. And the ZV-1 uses the Sony BX1 battery. It's a lot smaller, a lot thinner, and you're not going to get so many shots or so much video on one battery. So I would suggest you shove a few extra batteries in your pocket if you're going out and about. Now, both cameras have got no record limit, so if you're looking at video, they're both going to be very similar from that point of view. You can just keep on recording until either the card fills up or the battery runs out. And also, both of them, you can run the cameras and charge the batteries via USB. This is micro USB on the ZV-1, and I believe it's USB-C on the ZV-E10. That's USB-C on that, yeah, USB-C, HDMI ports. They've both got a 3.5mm microphone jack, both on the side of the ZV-1 there at the top, and right at the top here of the ZV-E10 is your microphone jack. But the ZV-E10 also has a headphone jack, which the ZV-1 doesn't have. So that's got the microphone, the headphone jack on the bottom. So if you really are more serious about your video, then I would highly recommend the ZV-E10, because at least you can plug headphones in and you can check the audio level prior to you know, finding afterwards that it didn't record very good audio. And also, because it's got interchangeable lenses, with the ZV-1 it isn't interchangeable, it is fixed. So they both have very similar video features, to be honest. So I can't really recommend, if you're just looking at features, I can't recommend one over the other, because they're both really, really good from that point of view. And that's why I bought, well, I actually did have 3 ZV-1s, but because I've bought the ZV-E10, I didn't need the third ZV-1. But I'm always recommending the ZV-1 because it's all in one. You can shove it in a little kit bag, such as this kit bag, you know, a couple of spare batteries in the front pouch, shove that in there, and because the lens is built in with it, you're not going to forget the lens, it's always going to be there. So there is your 4K, portable 4K you know, recording camera. It's brilliant, you know. As I say, it's got electronic image stabilization, the same as the ZV-E10. That hasn't got mechanical image stabilization, is electronic, same as the ZV-1. So there's so many similarities, but you can't get a ZV-E10 in a small pouch like this. So I think if you really do need a camera where you want to be able to go out and about and you don't want to take a lot of kit, you just want to shove it either in your jacket pocket or in a pouch such as this, the ZV-E1 is the way to go. And although it has only got that 1-inch sensor, so being able to get back those creamy backgrounds and that lovely creative look like that, you're going to struggle with a ZV-1, but with a ZV-E10 you're not going to struggle. You're going to be able to achieve that sort of look without any problem whatsoever. So for video, I can't really rank one over the other. It depends on what you want to use it for. Now, for vlogging, they're both being sold as vlogging cameras, which is sad really, because they should be both sold as content creation cameras, particularly the ZV-E10, because this has a lot more going for it than just being a vlogging camera. But one of the criticisms the ZV-1 has always had is that the 24mm isn't really wide enough for vlogging. I think you can work with it, but I can see what people are saying, and they have got a valid point. You can only attach a wide-angle lens adapter, and it's not a great quality. At least with the ZV-E10, you can put on something like, for example, the Sony 10-18 lens, which will give you a wider field of view than what the kit lens 16-50 does. So for vlogging, and also with a headphone jack, you can check the audio, but you can at least plug microphones into the ZV-1. So they're both great vlogging cameras, but you can go wider with the ZV-E10 because it has more flexibility as far as that is concerned. But even at 16mm, that is, that's not too bad. I can even come in quite a bit closer. So I think that is fine personally, but and I don't do a lot of vlogging. Well, I don't really do any vlogging per se, but the ZV-E10 is a fixed lens. You're not going to be able to change this lens. It is what it is, so you get what you get. If you want it wider, put an adapter on, but there's not a lot you can do. Also, you can't go further than 70mm. So there are drawbacks with that, but it is what it is, and I'm happy to accept those drawbacks because of its excellent video quality and its compact size. For stills, the ZV-E10 would be better because of the APS-C sensor. I have looked at the images. I'm not going to go through them now. I have looked at the images, but the ZV-E10 absolutely produces crisper images than what the ZV-1 does, but that's pixel peeping, So yeah, so if you're looking for a really good hybrid camera that will do both, then the ZV-E10 probably is a better option. But if you want a really good compact camera that does both, a really good hybrid camera, then the ZV-1 really does take some beating. Now, neither of them have got a viewfinder, so you're completely reliant on the screen on the back of the camera. I find on both of them it's okay. It's not the best of screens, and in really bright sunny conditions I did have a bit of an issue with the ZV-E10, and I have with the ZV-1 as well, to be fair. You can switch it to sunny mode, which is okay. It does brighten the screen up, but I found that it produced a wishy-washy sort of image, a blown out sort of image on the screen. I wasn't always sure if it was if the exposure was spot on, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't do that. I would tend to just rely on the screen, even if it is quite dim in certain conditions. It doesn't happen very often, to be fair. I've been out quite a bit with the ZV-E10, and I've only come across 1 or 2 situations where I wish I had a viewfinder, but it's not a big deal. Now, handling with it, the ZV-E10 has this control dial on the back, where the ZV-1 has no control dial on the back. It's just got your one wheel dial wheel on the back here. The ZV-E10's got both. It's got the actual dial, but it's also got the wheel. So I find the usability with the ZV-E10 is slightly better than it is with the ZV-1. It's a shame, with the ZV-1, with the RX100 range, Sony put a control wheel around the throat of a lens, just around the collar of the lens, and that was great because you could use that for either exposure compensation, aperture, whatever. They haven't done that with the ZV-1, which is a bit of a shame. And I've also found that with the ZV-E10, I said this on actually one of my other videos, with the ZV-E10, it's got this one button on the top. Let's take that off. It's got this one button on the top, which is your mode button on the top there. There's a little button there. Push that in, and that changes the mode from S&Q, which is slow motion effectively, and time lapses, to photography mode and video mode. And that's all fine and dandy. That works fine. Where with the ZV1, when you hit the mode button, it does more than that, and I'll show you what I mean. Turn it on and I shall show you what I mean. So on the ZV1, when you hit the mode button, it comes up with this wheel, and then you can choose whether you want photography, aperture priority, shutter priority, video, you know, whatever you need, programmed automatic. It all comes up on the side there, and that's relatively quick and easy to actually do. Not quite the same with the ZV-E10. I'm not quite sure why Sony did that, but with the ZV-E10, it just comes up with 3 modes. So when you push the button in, you've got video mode, you've got that's programmed, what one's that? That was, yeah, shutter priority in stills. And then that'll go back to video mode. That's also in shutter priority. Then, as I say, S&Q. Now, the downside with that is when I'm going into photography mode, it takes me into shutter priority because that was the last one that I used. But if I want to very quickly go into aperture priority, and that, you know, can happen with me quite a bit, then you have to go into the menu. Because you have to go into the menu and fiddle around to find your aperture priority. You don't have to do that with a ZV1, but I've come up with a much quicker way of doing that, and it works a treat for me. So you still use this mode to go into your photography mode, so I'm already in that, but I've pre-assigned this button on the top here. So this button on the top, I've pre-assigned that. So when you push that in, I've now put it up to bring up the shooting mode. So you can then select very quickly whether you want manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, or whatever you want. And that does exactly the same in video. So when you go into video, so I'm in video now, you see it set their shutter priority. But when I'm using the camera in the studio here, I'll be using that in manual. So I can now quickly push this button here, again, the shooting mode button, push that in. Well, I've changed it for shooting mode, and it comes up there, and I can change that to shutter priority, manual, switch that to manual, and hey presto, we're in manual now, which is awesome. So I can adjust the shutter speed by using this main dial. There, that's adjusting the aperture actually. Sorry, I've got that set for adjusting aperture. So that'll adjust the aperture, and then this dial here will adjust the shutter speed, which it does do because it's in manual. So, you know, that's awesome. And so the 3-inch articulating screen, fantastic, which is really nice and nice and compact. Now, this hot shoe on the top here, it's a multi-interface shoe, which is the same as it is on the ZV1. That's the multi-interface shoe on the ZV1. But the difference with the ZV-E10 is it will work digitally with certain accessories. Certainly the Sony, and I'll put the model number of this microphone in the description. This particular microphone has got digital or analog settings, but with the ZV-E10, that will work digitally. So I can plug that into there. Don't even need cables. Same with the ZV-E1. ZV1. Don't need cables. Put that in there, and I've got a fantastic vlogging kit, or even, you know, studio production kit with a digital microphone and full manual controls. So you can adjust the levels here using the manual controls on the back of a microphone. So again, that does work on the ZV1 because you can still adjust the levels manually, but you have to be in analog mode, not in digital mode. Also, it will work with the XLR adapter, K2M and K3M XLR adapters, and your Bluetooth microphones. I've actually not tested the XLR adapter with the ZV1, but I suspect it will work. I see no reason why it shouldn't work with it. But that's a great advantage for buying Sony cameras, is using these particular types of microphones, and the fact that you don't need you don't need cables or anything like that. It takes its power from the camera. So yeah, great feature, and that's on both cameras, apart from the fact the ZV-E10 is more modern and it sets the digital signal that comes out this microphone. So there we go. In a nutshell then, really the main differences are the ZV-1's a 1-inch sensor and it's all in one, so you can shove that in your pocket, and that's great for going out and about. Brilliant for video. The 4K video that comes off the ZV-1 is probably indistinguishable between the ZV-E10 in most situations, unless you are filming something like an interview situation and you want the background completely thrown out. Then I would go with the ZV-E10, because you can put a telephoto lens on, a portrait lens like the 85mm lens on, to get that background out of focus. You can't do that with a ZV-1. But for stills, I would go with a ZV-E10 because of the APS-C sensor. So I don't know if any of that has helped you, but at least you know a reasonable understanding of the differences between the ZV-E10 and the ZV-1. And I think there's a strong market for both. They're both sold as vlogging cameras, little bit more practical with the ZV-E10 because you can put a wider lens on, but then it gets much heavier. This is as light as anything, so you can walk around with this, I think, much longer vlogging than you would with this. I think the fatigue would set in with the ZV-E10 quicker than it does with the ZV-1. They both work very nicely with Sony's range of accessories, such as this grip. They both work with the Sony grip. Again, I'll put the model number of this grip in the description or in the video, so you can take photographs with it, video, and if you've got the right lens fitted to the ZV-E10, then the zoom control will work and it will zoom the lens in and out the same as it does on the ZV-1, simply because the ZV-1 has that built in. And there we go. That's pretty much the ZV-E10, ZV-E10 and the Sony ZV-1, both excellent cameras. I mean, I've been using the ZV-1, as I said earlier, since it came out, and I love it. It's one of my favourite cameras I've ever bought because of its flexibility. But there we go, that's the ZV-E10, the new release. The grip is quite nice on the ZV-E10 actually. It's a small grip because it's a nice compact camera, but it's okay. You can walk around for quite a long time, well, all day with that and have no issues. It's absolutely fine, yeah. The ZV-1, being that it is a more compact camera, it's still got quite a nice grip. It's okay, you know, it's not too bad at all. That's on the ZV-1. So there we go. Both great cameras. I'm not sure what else to say. There we go. Hope you found that useful. I will put in the description below a link to my Flickr page where you can look at the images from the ZV-E10 and the ZV-1. It makes more sense to look at it on Flickr because the image quality is going to be better than me showing you samples on my computer here. It makes more sense that you can go directly to Flickr to see what they're like. So take a look at that, and if you enjoy my channel, please hit the like button. If you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with everyone. Also subscribe if you haven't already done so. That really does help the YouTube algorithm, and make comments. I really appreciate the comments. I read everyone, and it's it's all good. So thanks very much for watching. Enjoy the channel and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography, and obviously more about these two cameras. So thanks very much. Cheers for now. Bye.